breaking down all the plays and getting you in the action. We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome on into the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. I am Justin Feldkamp alongside Rhett Boyd. We are wrapping up our high school hoops, college hoops portion of the calendar year when we're talking the BCSN Nation podcast. Numero 30, number 30. So if you thought, oh, this is just a flash in the pan, they're not going to do this, we have proven you wrong. We are 30 episodes deep in the BCSN Nation podcast, and we have seen tournament teams, and we have seen tournaments wrap up. We'll start at the high school level, Rhett. At the 𝗦𝗽liche state championships on the boys' side this past week down in Dayton, UD Arena, a great venue. Personally think that was a good choice by the 𝗦𝗽liche. Let's start with that. What do you think of that, moving it from Columbus, whether it was in the Ohio State's arena or the professional arena down there, to UD? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit twofold. I think one, from an atmosphere standpoint of like around the arena, there's more to do in Columbus, perhaps. With the different venues and restaurants and things of that nature. But I think from a game atmosphere standpoint, U of D, it might be a little bit better because everything's a little bit more condensed, a little bit smaller arena than the Schottenstein Center, and you get, obviously you get the crowd more involved, and it's more, like I said, compact. So I think it's twofold. I think, but I just think like everything evolves over time, and they've kept it out there for 2-3 years, so they must be pretty happy with it. Yeah,
that's a good point about the area surrounding the arena in Columbus, but it's not too far of a drive. You can get from one location, whether it's on UD's campus. There's a number of nice eateries and bars and restaurants. That's a quick drive in the parking area. I think you could make an argument the parking's a little bit easier at UD Arena, but just the maybe compact nature, and then I think you can get some, if your team is not in the tournament, but you'll still get fans that would go just to see good basketball at the state level.
Because too, and you just look at the Dayton area, obviously very good basketball and football, across the board. But look at what they've done in a week and a half, 2-week period. You had the girls tournament. You then had the NCAAs come in, the first four for a 2-day period where it's virtually sold out, and then you get the boys tournament, the 𝗦𝗽liche boys tournament coming in there. So it's a hotbed for basketball, in particular when you look at the different levels of basketball they have in a short period of time, and they draw extremely well. So credit to Dayton and their surrounding areas, because that's what it's all about. It's the final culmination of the tournament. Yeah. But it's about atmosphere in creating memories. And when you got a big crowd, supporting both teams, that's what you can remember. You might not remember the score in 10 years, but you can remember the environment that you were in and playing in.
Yep. All right. We continue here on the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Marco's Pizza. Each and every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, a new episode drops. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and on bcsnnation.com/podcast, plus on YouTube. And then all of our BCSN social media handles at BCSN Sports, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Okay, so on the boys' side, we had one Division I team get down there. That would be St. John's. For the first time since 2013, an area team got down there. The last team was Rogers out of the City League, but St. John's finished 19-10, typically not a record in which would indicate that you got to the state semifinals, but they played their best basketball at the right time. They rolled through teams from Waite, Columbian, Findlay, Whitmer, Perrysburg, Garfield Heights, then came up short in the state semifinals to Akron Archbishop Hoban.
Yep, and look, we said it when the seeds came out. They were the 9 seed, and that was lower than what this team was. Yeah, and we all agreed with that, and that they really had a chance to make a run. And we talked about it going into the Columbian game. Columbian was number 2 seed. We said, look, St. John's very easily could win this ball game, and they did it in convincing fashion. Yeah. And then they knock off Whitmer, the 1 seed, then Findlay, the 5 seed, and all of a sudden now you got momentum and you're rolling. And so you knew they had it in them because, one, they have a go-to player in C.J. 𝗏𝗏, and you had the emergence, and the emergence of Jalen Murphy and the emergence of Marquez Frazier really stepped up, especially when Joe Taylor went out with an injury. They really stepped up the level of play. Mahalik on the inside as well. And then we saw the emergence late in the tournament, or the middle of the tournament, with 𝗏𝗏ce 𝗏𝗏, as well, getting more minutes and more important minutes and playing well. So those guys really stepped up in the absence of Joe Taylor and really got better and were more consistent. Because look, at the end of the regular season, this team was 13-9, 8-6 in the track. And we said, don't be fooled by the record, right? Because a lot of those games came down to the final possession or final minute of the ball game where they came up just a little bit short. And sometimes when you don't get over the hump in 2 or 3 of those games, your record doesn't look as good as you are as a team. And if you were just 1 possession better, 2 possessions better, that 13-9 all of a sudden turns into 16 and whatever, 16-6 or 7 or whatever it is. So we knew that they had it in them. It was just a matter of doing it, and boy, did they do it in convincing fashion, just kind of running right through all the upper seeds. And hats off to Mike Schoen too, because in this day and age where everything's about like instant gratification, right? When you get knocked down, perseverance is an intangible for all successful teams you have to have. And his team was able to eliminate the noise, kept the blinders on, kept their nose to the grindstone, and you said hit their stride at the right time of year playing their best basketball, and what a heck of a run it was to them. Hats off to the Titans.
Yeah, and they played complete games, and they had the attention to detail for virtually, definitely quarter to quarter and minute to minute within those quarters, and that is how they got to where they got, the state semifinals. And then in watching that game against 𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏 had more size, inside and outside, and St. John's missed shots. 𝗏𝗏 typically dropping 20-plus points, 28 points in the regionals. He was held to 10 points. 𝗏𝗏's coach and players after the game, talking to the media, said that our focus was on 𝗏𝗏, shut him down. As 𝗏𝗏 goes, St. John's goes. And they were able to deliver and execute that game plan. But in that game, just too many things that were going St. John's way in a number of tournament games did not go their way. Statistically, they shot just 26.9% from the floor, 14 of 52. And getting down in any level of basketball early can be difficult to dig yourself out of that hole. And when you're scoring easy buckets on 𝗏𝗏's side that are just layups, short, mid-range jumpers, and St. John's was working for everything, or missing shots and short possessions or long possessions that don't deliver a field goal. All of those things happened in that first half, and they were down 28-14 at the half, and they just couldn't dig themselves out.
When you, as a coach going into the game, when you're outsized, you're outquicked, or even maybe overall talent, your margin for error obviously is really thin, and you need just about every aspect to go your way, from a tempo standpoint, from, like you said, lengthen your possession, shorten the game, limit the other team's possessions. But on the other side of that coin is you have to be very efficient in the shots you do take and make. And when that doesn't materialize, it could, that's when things can snowball on you, and it did, and it's okay. This 𝗏𝗏 team ended up winning the state championship.
Yeah, they ended up beating Pickerington Central, a team out of the Columbus area,
and that's a team that knocked out St. Ed's, who a lot of people thought was one of the better teams supposed to come out of that area. St. Ed's a team that beat St. John's earlier in the year. So, obviously, it's the best team in the state of Ohio. And to play them in the Final Four, yes, you came up short, but it doesn't take away from the great run that they had.
Yeah, and I was somewhat surprised in reading all the articles and doing interviews with the players and the coaches and hearing those sound bites on BCSN Sports Nightly and other locations, social media, et cetera. Ed 𝗏𝗏ce is the legendary coaching name at St. John's, and deservedly so. He did not win a state title, took his teams there a number of times, but never got into the winner's circle. And I was surprised 2009 was the last time a St. John's team went. That was 14 years ago. So that was a somewhat surprising statistic, because that was a large portion of Ed Heinzel's time frame there. And it just shows you how difficult it is to get there and then to win 2 more times. You get to state. To win it all, you got to win 2 more times against 2 fantastic teams.
Yeah, because, too, you think about it, to get out of your own district sometimes is harder than getting out of the region. Or the regional, because you're playing a team for the 2nd or 3rd time. Familiarity is at an all-time high, and it really comes down to, obviously high execution. Sometimes you get into the regional when somebody doesn't know you very well. A lot of times, especially with a team like St. John's that runs a lot of sets and a lot of different types of screening actions and movements, it's very hard to prepare for in a day or 2, and you can really carve them up. I think that's what you saw, go back to the Tiffin game. Tiffin's not really familiar with St. John's, and they just out-executed them from an X and O standpoint or a dissection standpoint with screening action. Yeah. So, again, but you talk about those Ed Heinzel teams that were the last to get down there. You're talking about the Brian Robertses, the Zach Hillslands, B.J. Raymonds. Those were much, much more talented teams from a guard standpoint, inside standpoint than what this St. John's team, is and was. Yeah. So that even makes this run even that much more special because, when you get down there to that state level, and you've been there, you've seen it. The teams from the Cleveland area or even like the Cincinnati area, they're bringing big time size to the table, right, which then puts you at a very, from a defensive standpoint, you have to really, I don't want to say gamble, but you're going to, in order to stop size inside, you're going to send extra bodies, which means that means you're willing to give up some perimeter shots. You're
sacrificing something.
You're going to sacrifice longer jump shots, and you just got to hope that team is off. And if they're not, well, you just tip your hat to them and say, it's your day. But for that team to get down there and do what they did is hats off to St. John's, because that's an exceptional run.
All right, so here's a little trivia. Which school was the last Division I state champion from the Toledo area?
I know this.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go back to 1991. Scott Bulldogs. Okay. And then the year before, 90 was, I think, when Maycumber with Jimmy Jackson won it.
Yeah, 90. It was 90. 89 and 90.
89 and 90.
1 year off. So
okay, yep.
Scott was the last one in 1990, a Division I state champ. So that was the last boys state champion from the Hyper Toledo area.
I think I can name the starting lineup. From
Go, let it spread the wealth and knowledge.
So John White, John White, Kelvin White, Sean Scrutchins, Scoop Williams. Is that 4?
Yep.
Oh, man. Hold on. John White, Kelvin White.
You're doing a good job no matter
Scoop
what.
Williams, Sean Scrutchins. Oh, man, that fifth one's got me.
You have to look it up and tweet it out or something like that. Speaking of tweet, pull up my Twitter post for me for our next section as we travel into the girls' side of this. So hats off to Coach Mike Schoen and all of the St. John's Titans, the community, the school, et cetera, et cetera. A lot to be proud of. And in Coach Schoen, this is 3rd season, and they've had difficulties, we'll say, in the postseason due to COVID tracing that derailed one of their postseason runs. But they had a great season, a lot to be proud of. So we continue on here, Justin and Rhett, on the BCSN Nation podcast powered by 𝗦𝗫𝗄𝗃 Pizza. And wanted to bring up the girls because the All-Ohio 1st, 2nd, 3rd teams are released this week. And as we tape this podcast, the Division I and II, want to list them off, and you can chime in here. First team, Sinai Douglas, Brooklyn Vaughn, Lauren Gherkin. Second team, Destiny Robinson. Third team, Elise Bender, Kendall Crothers, Kamara Sylvester, Haley Meyer, and Reese Grothaus. All fantastic players in their own right, and a number of different players that we had on our first team all BCSN, top 30, top 10, and top 5. Also, Kendall Braden, first teamer. Mackenzie Royal Davis, a second teamer, Katie Kaufman, a second teamer, and Macy Bowder, a third teamer. So a lot of different players that a lot of our loyal listeners or viewers know quite well, just because we've been talking about them since November, December, January, February, and now March. Some elite talent from Northwest Ohio. A lot of those players getting Division I college scholarship looks and offers, and a number of them not seniors this year. They're still sophomores or juniors. Not all of them, but a majority of them are sophomores or juniors, and might have their pick of the litter when it comes to where they're going to play college hoops.
Yeah, and you're right. You said that non-seniors, Sinai Douglas coming back, Brooklyn Vaughn coming back, Destiny Robinson coming back, Elise Bender, Kendall Carruthers, Kendall Braid, Mackenzie Royal Davis, all coming back. So it just shows that obviously their talent level, but to get to that level, there's a lot of hard work that goes into that in season, out of season. So hats off to those young ladies, because they were, they're dynamic and consistent night in and night out, leading their teams to successful seasons. Can't wait to see what their senior year provides, because as we all know, there is a big difference from seniors to juniors, from a maturity standpoint, from maybe a sense of urgency standpoint, like this is the last run, late on the line type thing. So it's curious to see, what next year brings for those young ladies. Now they're all getting into their AAU season right now, and we wish them nothing but the best and can't wait to see what next year provides. Yeah,
and if you are interested in digging a little deeper on some of those names that we just talked about that were named first team all BCSN, head to BCSNnation.com, click on the community tab, and then first team all BCSN. We got a lengthy video feature on there, and then coaches' quotes, statistics, different awards that they've won for the top 5 boys and girls first team all BCSN. All right, within college hoops now, we just saw the University of Toledo women win the MAC tournament, beating the rival BG in Cleveland. They advanced, got a 12 seed, first round of the NCAA tournament, take down the 5 seed Iowa State on the road in Knoxville, Tennessee. Then in the round of 32, they lost to Tennessee 94-47, just kind of got outmatched there against a superior Tennessee Volunteer team. But I wanted to finish up our podcast here talking about the significance, the importance, the milestone type of season that UT had. They finished 29-5, 17 wins in a row until they came up short in the round of 32 against the Tennessee team that has projected 2 top 10 WNBA picks. But it was a great, remarkable season for Coach 𝗦𝗫cije 𝗡𝗶𝗵𝗵𝗁 and all of the Rockets.
Without question. And the scary part is they're all coming back. I mean, you lose Jada Jansen, who had one heck of a MAC tournament and NCAA tournament, came up big off the bench for them from a point production standpoint. She's been consistent all year, but really went to another level in postseason play. Justina King came in this year as a grad transfer, provided some valuable minutes off the bench, allowing Sophia Wire, Quenisha Lockett and company to get more rest than they've had in years past, which, don't kid yourself, that's a big reason why they've been able to get over the hump in some of the close games, down the stretch as well, with having their legs at the end of the year. Maybe in years past they haven't. But outside of those two, everybody's back. And that's what, getting that taste of getting to that second round of the NCAA tournament is going to keep them hungry. They know how good Bowling Green is. They know how good Ball State and Kent State are. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Future's bright, obviously, for that program. I went down to Knoxville on Saturday to watch that Iowa State game, and Toledo was just a better team.
I know.
I mean, you knew going in their quickness, be able to get out and play in space a little bit was going to be important, but it was their half-court execution of their sets. Like you talk about St. John's having multiple sets and a lot of different screening options and actions. Toledo has that too, and they just got to the rim time after time after time. And you just kind of kept waiting for that 5 seed Iowa State to make that run. It just didn't happen.
Right.
I mean, they were up 16, got it to 5, but then Toledo had an immediate answer to get it right back to that 7, 8, 9 range, and heck of a win. And then you said last night they just ran into a better, overwhelming basketball team. Watching Tennessee in person, when they look big from the 26th row, couldn't imagine what they looked like from on the floor.
Bodying them up. Yeah.
So you knew the size issue was going to be a problem. Toledo doubled, and again, you're sacrificing something. You're going to sacrifice long jump shots. And Tennessee, who averages 5 threes a game, made 8 in the first half.
11 on the game.
11 on the game. Just tip your hat to them, and best of luck for them moving forward. But what a heck of a year for Coach 𝗏𝗶𝗵𝗁 and that team. And again, very excited to see what they're able to do. Next year.
Yeah, I was curious because a lot of the talk with the 5 seed for Iowa State and the 12 seed for UT is UT possibly should have gotten a better, higher seed than a 12, and that played out. You could see that they matched up very evenly or had a little more skill and athleticism against Iowa State, but then, I mean, the difference was pretty significant in that second round game. Thinking, my rationale at this point is, well, UT, playing as well as they did in the first round, shouldn't have had to play that caliber of a team in the second round against Tennessee. But they did so many things well against Iowa State. And then when you miss shots, like you said, we were talking about earlier with St. John's, missing shots early in the state semifinal game, missing shots early in that second round game against Tennessee, you dig yourself a hole. And the bench points for Tennessee, they had 52 bench points, outscoring the entire Toledo team, 52-47, and the 94-47 final score. That first half was just so problematic when you're not making shots from a variety of points on the court. It just was too much to overcome. Yeah,
and there were the shots they were getting was exactly the shots that they've been getting on this whole run. So you're like, man, we're really happy with the shots we're getting and by who's taking them and where. But you're right. At the end of the day, it's got to go in, and it didn't. And then, like you said, Tennessee just got hot. When their center extended the lines, 21 feet, 22 feet, and they're extended out 25 feet, hitting threes.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Yeah,
you're not going to do anything.
Yeah, they had role players who were coming off the bench and doing well and making shots. And UT missed 25 of its first 33 shots, not like over the course of the game. You're just making 7 out of 33. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. Yeah. But you mentioned the whole team is coming back. 𝗦𝗽cije 𝗏𝗏, Sophia Wired, Sammy McConowitz, Kara Goss, Jessica Cook. And then some people might not remember or have to be reminded of the name Hannah 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏, who tore her ACL. She's 6'5", so some of that height differential that they had to deal with in the tournament, well, here comes 𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏, hopefully coming back and playing well, will help dispel some of that height differential.
Nan Garcia, too, and what an emergence she was been the last 10 games of the regular season, averaged double digits in the last 10 games, and then on and through the tournament, got hot from the arc, which she can do. You're right, you bring them back. And then, when you look at their incoming freshman class, Two of the young ladies, and I was just scavenging through the internet. And depending on what source, what ranking system you look at, the two that they got coming in from Michigan was ranked, and one thing I was looking at was ranked number 4 and number 5 in the state of Michigan. A girl with the last name of 𝗦𝗽cije out of the Grand Rapids area, and then there's another girl, can't remember the name off the top of my head, up in northern Michigan area, that are coming in, and it's gonna, possibly help right away in the rotation. If not, it's a great time for them to develop without having too much on their shoulders, and can help them out as the year goes on. But so adding them to the fold will definitely help with depth, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, UT men and women programs and head coaches both sitting pretty and only can go up in many cases. So, all right, let's finish up with the last segment here.
It's time for the BCSN Nation Podcast Question of the Week. Send us your question on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook using the @BCSN Sports and #BCSN Podcast.
All right, the question of the week. Let's go back to high school, Rhett. Besides St. John's, since we just talked about them at length here, what's your biggest takeaway? What's a storyline? What's a thought, a comment that you would have from the 2022-2023 high school hoop season? One on each side, boys and girls.
I think, and even both, I'm going to lump this into both. I think it fits both genders, is parity. We had a tremendous amount of parity throughout the different leagues in this, in the area. I mean, when you look at like in the track, St. John's, we said they're 8-6 in the league, and they ended up in the state Final Four.
Yeah,
right. With Central and Whitmer and Findlay, all excellent teams that finished above them. I think when you look at the TAC, Cardinal Stritch and Emmanuel Christian, they split during the year. Stritch dropped one more game to give Emmanuel the championship, and the NLL. And there were 3-4 teams right down the final 2 weeks of the season that was in the hunt. So I think parity on both sides. I think in the ability, we talked about perseverance earlier, the ability to go through some successes, but then when you got knocked down this year, and everybody did at some point, the ability to keep the blinders on, eliminate the noise, and just keep grinding away for teams was critical. We've seen that from a number of teams, and they really hit their stride, played their best basketball late in the season, and we really saw some great games in the sectional, district, regional, and out of the state tournament.
Gotcha. All right. Some programming notes for you. The boys and girls basketball Northwest Ohio District 7 Basketball Coaches Association All-Star Games are at Napoleon High School this year on Sunday, March 26th. Basically from 12:45 through 6 o'clock. A bunch of different games, divisions, etc., boys and girls. So BCSN will broadcast that, so check that out on the BCSN Now app. And we'll also have it on TV tape delay. We transition from winter to spring. Saturday, March 25th is the first day that spring sports can happen. So we do have Cardinal Stritch at Rossford baseball set for BCSN Now broadcast. So check BCSNNation.com for updated listings. As you know, in this area, we'll have some cancellations due to snow and rain, et cetera, et cetera. It's a pain in our backside, but we roll with the punches during the spring sports season. But, no matter football, volleyball, soccer, basketball, wrestling, hockey, and then baseball and softball, we'll have teams from the Toledo area that will go compete at the state level. So there's plenty of top athletes, top teams, top coaches in our area. So head to BCSNNation.com. This is the last one for this season. So, Rhett, thank you for taking part in a new endeavor for us here at BCSN, the Nation podcast, powered by `𝗦𝗍𝘀 𝗡𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁𝗹𝘆. It's been a fun ride all the way since November, all the way to now.
It's unbelievable how fast it goes. It's a lot of fun. My pleasure. A lot of fun doing it. Want to do it again?
Yeah, a lot of positive, good feedback. So if you guys got any ideas, please hit Rhett up, hit me up, and let us know what you like, what you don't like, and how we can improve as we transition from winter to spring sports. And we will go on a temporary hiatus here on the BCSN Nation podcast. We'd like our analysts on the baseball and softball side to get some time to watch and see some of these teams compete. And with the season beginning March 25th, and then teams sometimes go out of town for tournaments down south. So we're going to put a temporary pause on the week-to-week Wednesday at 3 o'clock podcast, but we will be in touch when we crank it back up for the spring sports portion of the schedule here in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan as we go from there all the way through, hopefully, the state championships for a number of area teams that would take us into June. So thank you for watching and or listening to the BCSN Nation podcast. For Rhett, I am Justin, our audio and video guy, Jose. Appreciate him as well. Thank you for watching and listening. Have yourself a great rest of the week, and thank you for participating and watching what we got here at BCSN.